What's up, guys? How we doing? I wanted to bring up this lineup to show you what a winning lineup looks like because I employed my friend Donnie here in a while to show you our lineups. We got to be a bit more condensed this week, so we're gonna throw some information at you pretty quickly. So I don't want to waste any more time. I'll introduce Gov and Donnie, but we'll look at the best lineup. We'll look at our lineup, and then we'll look at some takeaways that we can use for the next week because I do think that's important as we build out for the upcoming slate. Is always to look back, not just to say what we got right and wrong, but to learn about it and then reflect to be able to get better as players for you and for us as well. So, welcome, Gov. Welcome, Donnie. Have any initial thoughts about Week 12?
Thought one was one of Jacobs or Adams definitely needs to be in place moving forward. Wish we would have gotten Jacobs in our lineup, but I don't think Adams was a bad play either. So,
well, I want to play devil's advocate a bit because it seems obvious, maybe because if you look at their scores, you're like, oh yeah, well Jacobs had 51 points, and I think this is the first time in like 6 weeks Adams did not have 30 points. So why do you think it's so imperative? Like outside of the play, it could be.
I think that team has shown that they are down to the injuries have gotten that team down to a very condensed target share and volume of the touches. So they're gonna run it with Jacobs, or when they throw it, it's mostly getting targeted to Devontae. And they sort of run and throw it 50-50. So you don't know who's getting more of anything. So I don't know who to go with week to week. It might be Adams week coming up. It might be Jacobs week who knows? But I think because of the volume that those two are both going to get, I think they're almost locks barring some major salary bump. Like if they both get over 8,500, now it's hard to even play one of them.
I actually don't want to
especially
play
Jacobs.
Yeah, running back over 8,500 especially, yeah.
Give me your thoughts, Donnie and Jacobs.
I mean, I don't think he's a bad running back. I'm not a fan of playing Jacobs specifically in fantasy. I feel like the top end running back, if I'm going to pay up for a running back, there's higher ceiling guys that you can get at running back if you're going to pay high price. And then there's just the lower price guys that seem to always be a lower price guy that's going to hit.
I would rather focus the lower price guys. I'll give you that. But I think as long as Jacobs is below what I know, I know the tier running back you're talking about, he's not that guy. But as long as he's priced below them, he should be in play.
Well, let me give you an
example. But I think after this week, wouldn't you argue that he's going to be much closer to them than he usually is? I'd rather just pay up for him.
100% agree. That's why if he gets
600.
Oh yeah, if he's 85, 86, and now I have to choose same price between him, Chubb, McCaffrey, now we got a choice. But when he's the cheapest of all of them, I'm perfectly fine playing him.
See, I think that's exactly why we play Adams because I think they have the same upside, but Adams didn't do it this week. So I think he'll be way lower owned. So I would just play the ownership game. I like both of them from a talent perspective. And like you said initially, Gov, the offenses or the defense is really bad. And so that game's going to put up a carnival-like points. Thanks, Donnie, for the screen share as well. But this is the top lineup. So let's look at this lineup quickly, and then we'll go to our lineup that Donnie has pulled up here in a few. What do you guys like about this lineup? Where do you think we were right about this lineup? But do you think there was anything that we can use from this top lineup maybe for next week?
I mean,
the guy went with a very specific type of build. It's not one that works out a lot, but it is one you tend to like this build, Logan, where you go with the really cheap, high upside quarterback. Stack him, hope he goes off, and that gives you all the money to do whatever else. And that's what we got here. We got a Mike White double stack with Garrett Wilson, who was the kind of chalky receiver, and his tight end. So a normal double stack, his top receiver and his tight end. He didn't bring it back with anyone from Chicago. Not surprised. Don't trust Chicago guys.
Mm-hmm.
Went with one of the cheap running back options. Didn't go with P. Ryan. Didn't go with chalky Jeff Wilson. But he went with Latavius Murray. I think he was the third of the cheaper running backs in ownership. So not a horrible play there.
Right.
And because he's paying down at running back and he's getting all that money from his quarterback. And like he has all that money. He paid for a mid-range wide receiver in Godwin. And Godwin and Higgins, to be honest, were popping in projections all Sunday morning. If I was running optimals and it wasn't forcing bringbacks or anything, it was giving me like a single stack with Godwin and Higgins as the two extra wide receivers, just as an optimal sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised. And Higgins shows was one of the higher owned wide receivers without Chase, 23%. That makes sense. Godwin, I was surprised he came in at with how much he was popping in all of my optimals. I'm surprised he came in at 9%. But that just goes to show how no one was trusting Tampa Bay. Even though his projection said he was fine, no one's trusting Tampa Bay, so he comes in pretty low owned. And so since you're just going with the chalkier value wide receivers, you have a value running back. You went with the cheap back. He had to spend money somewhere, so he paid up for both running back spots with Jacobs and Eckler. The weird part about the lineup is he decided to full-on game stack, and it's like he's going to double stack the quarterback, and he wants the defense. I would have definitely had a different defense. He could have gotten more points out of cheaper defenses. So it's not an optimal lineup, but it won this contest. It's solidly built with the right, like you got your double stack, you got your value running back. It's a little different though. Paying up at running back in the other two slots definitely made you different. 3% for Josh Jacobs. No one wanted to play Josh Jacobs. And those are the 3% of people that actually had a shot. And
I love that you mentioned that because
he had the money. He could have eaten P. Ryan or Jeff Wilson chalk because he's playing White. He's getting cheap Wilson. Was now a 9% Godwin, and he's got a 2% tight end to go with his 2% quarterback. Like he's got totally different. Oh, there you go. That explains. I forget. The Jets defense were the secondary cash defense other than the Chiefs once the quarterback news was happening for Chicago.
Can you do me a favor, Logan? Can we compare the first and second place team just to see how different it was?
4
we
points
can do
off.
that.
Let's see. 4 points off. I bet it's not even a Mike White stack.
Here we go. It is Mike White. Oh no,
It's not.
It was taking
Aha!
a minute to refresh.
So they got Burrow, Higgins, Godwin, and that's it.
So you now have Burrow. You single stacked him with Higgins. You brought it back with Treylon Burks. You have Godwin, who I said was popping in optimals. You have Zay Jones, who was also a cheap option, who popped off. You took one of the chalkier cheap tight ends in Moreau. You played the chalkier expensive running back in Walker. He didn't pay down as much, so he needed to pay. So he couldn't have another mid-range receiver like in the other guy's lineup. He had to go with Zay Jones. He couldn't pay up for two running backs so he has Treylon Burks.
You guys lost me for a second. I'm back.
Correct.
That one's not a bad lineup. If you went with Burrow, you single with bring back, has a couple of the optimal plays around it.
I don't mind that at all. I really don't.
I don't know what you got up on the screen, Logan.
Well,
this is not the complete lineup, actually.
No.
It's an older screenshot.
This is our lineup from a couple weeks ago, Donnie.
Oh, Oh, my fault. My fault.
Well, it's okay because I mean you can still look at things and learn. But yeah, you're right. That I'll switch back to the screen, but as you get it. But what I find interesting is we just looked at the first place lineup that had T. Higgins, right? We could have easily got to T. Higgins. We were on that. We liked someone from that game. We went with Tyler Boyd. That guy went with Higgins. You know, and hindsight is 2020, as I say. And I'm not saying like, oh, I wish we would have went with Higgins. I'm saying like those are the margins of victory sometimes, and you have to accept it. You know, and I'm okay with it. And sometimes I actually feel like it's advantageous to lose weeks. Like, it doesn't feel good, Gov, but sometimes it is necessary
There
to
you go.
kind of take your medicine, I guess. And so I want to be transparent about that when I pull this lineup now and show you that we did take our medicine here, but I don't think this is a bad lineup. Like, if we stubbed out Boyd for Higgins, we're there, right? This lineup had a chance because Sky Moore actually almost had a touchdown, brought the ball into the red zone, and basically tried to extend for the end zone, but it got called back for holding. Like, these are the small margins of error, like I said, that flip a switch. I also played like a guy like Mark Andrews in another lineup. He caught a touchdown and then he dropped it. Like it was. So sometimes you make bad plays. Like Cam Akers was a bad play. I got too cute there. But sometimes it's just it doesn't work out your way. Like Carter caught the touchdown, the long touchdown, but that could have easily been Palmer.
Yep.
So our process was right. I played a Justin Herbert lineup as well. So like, at least I can take home or take some solace. And the things I liked about Week 12, I liked. It didn't work out. Like I played a lot of Arizona Chargers. I played a lot of Kansas City Rams. I think that Patrick Mahomes would have got us there, but the Rams didn't push.
Agreed. If the Rams had pushed at all and
Right.
Mahomes needs to get one more touchdown, he's probably getting Kelsey or Sky Moore there.
Right.
He's getting to 30, and then this entire lineup is different. And even Boyd, like normally Burrow's spread like
Spreads it out.
I say that knowing that the last couple weeks he's kind of just like all of it went to Boyd one week, all of it went to P. Ryan one week, all of it went to Mixon one week, and now all of it went to Higgins this week. So like he spreads it around, but like lately he's just been doing that game to game instead of in the game. I think when Chase comes back, that'll be different. He'll literally just have enough weapons. He'll just hit who's ever open. And then it might be Boyd again. But it could have easily been one of Higgins' touchdowns could have gone to Boyd.
And
change that.
Just
like the Carter and Palmer stuff.
Just to go back to that, when we played Boyd, we had the impression that Chase is playing.
Yes, which I thought that all the way through Saturday night until I got full confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was people telling me on Saturday that like, no, he's out. He's like, yeah, I keep hearing that he's gonna test. But no, by Sunday morning it was fully out, and like I was changing my stuff. That's why Higgins was popping. I knew he was gonna be a chalky receiver at that point. But if anything, that still made me like, okay, now Boyd is the number 2 in a game where I expect them to throw.
Way, though.
Yeah, I would have played Boyd either way. He was at the right price.
Yeah.
He might actually have done better had Chase been in, but
like
that's hindsight.
This lineup missed the cash line, I believe, by 28 points. If the Rams game pushes Mahomes, he only scored one passing touchdown and still put up 22 fantasy points. If he puts up his normal 2.5, I mean, obviously you can't get 2.5, but basically gets him in the red zone even and fails to score the touchdown one more time, but does it, with more passing yards, you're looking at more like 30, 35 points. Yep. And then probably Travis Kelce, who I believe 6 of the last 7 games has scored a touchdown with the combination of Patrick Mahomes. And like I said, Sky Moore got called back for holding on what looked to be a nice screen pass that almost sprung him for a touchdown. Palmer was just as open as Carter was. It's just Herbert chose Carter on the touchdown pass. And then DK Metcalf really ran unlucky. I believe Tyler Lockett, don't hold me to it. I don't have time to fact check this because we're trying to be more efficient tonight. But I believe Tyler Lockett had 2 touchdowns in that game, but DK Metcalf had the majority of the targets and receptions. So if one of those touchdowns goes to DK, we're easily in the money. But again, it's not to say we were right. It's just the margin of error. And so I just wanted to bring that up. Is there anything you want to mention, Donnie? You've been quiet. Any positives, any negatives? What can you take away for next week, potentially?
I mean, with this lineup, I would say I think this lineup outside of Akers and, well, honestly, our running back plays like we just went with the chalky guy and then we went with a Akers, which in hindsight really didn't make too much sense. But if it would have worked, if he gets 1 touchdown that game, it looks good. The Rams offense didn't move at all, which is unfortunate. And like we went over Boyd. I still stand by. I think that Boyd play was a good play.
I think it was a good play. It didn't work out, but it was a good play.
It's not going to work out all the time.
No.
But it was good.
Is it weird that I like that we ate dirt this week? I don't know. Sometimes I like the grittiness, dude. I like failing.
Well, I told you, Logan.
You're not going to do it every week. This is not the kind of sport where you win every single week.
I told Logan before we were going to build a lineup on Sunday morning.
Oh, we might have lost him.
Did we lose him?
And then I was like,
oh, he's in and out.
He's back.
My fault. I told Logan that morning, we were planning on building a lineup and I just told him, I'm just not feeling good about this week. And there was not many plays that I was in love with this week.
But see, Donnie, I was the opposite of you. I love this slate. This honestly was my favorite build. This is my favorite build, I think, since week 1. Week 1 is always fun because you have like 3. To tell you how excited it is, you have 3 damn weeks to build a lineup. And so it's like overload. It's like Christmas morning, right? So week 1 is hard to compare to any other week because you just all the possibilities just flood through you. You haven't watched football in, a couple months. You're just ready. But this week was so much fun. I thought there's so much running back value. Getting to a safety like Mahomes is going to be fantastic. And by the way, I do think we go right back to the Bengals and right back to the Chiefs. I will be playing 3 quarterbacks almost assuredly. I will be playing Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Kenny Pickett. I'm almost assured of that. And so I'm not afraid to go right back to things, and I think you have to from a fantasy perspective. Did you guys want to do some rapid fire really quick? I got about 10 minutes here. So what I would like to do is kind of foreshadow what we think is likely to happen next week by some of these results that we saw. So, Donnie, what was the game that you thought like, oh, this means something for next week? Was there a game that, like you said, I'm going to make note of this because this is a trend that I want to keep track of for next week?
The only thing I can remember, honestly, is like I was looking at Cincinnati's schedule.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so, like, that's why I knew they needed to win that Tennessee game this last week. And so I really like that Kansas City-Cincinnati game this week.
I do too. Donnie, go ahead on the Kansas City-Cincy game. Do you like it as much as me and Gup? Because I do have a point to follow up if you don't. I know Donnie's a bit delayed. If you guys don't know, he's dealing with some inclement weather conditions.
That game.
So
I think it's very.
yeah, I don't believe it's me, right, Gov? It's Donnie's weather condition.
It most likely is.
Yeah,
No,
and I had to deal with it a couple weeks ago, so we're gonna bear with Donnie here. Hopefully, we're gonna back here in just a few minutes.
He keeps coming in and out. Just give him a sec.
Yeah, we'll give him just a minute here. Donnie, you with us?
All right. If not, what's your?
So here's my initial thoughts on Kansas City. Right, they were in prime time, which they often are, and the late window. Right. I think Donnie just jumped on his phone to try to finish up the show, so we're gonna bring him in here again. But I think they kind of failed in a way that I don't actually think they failed. I think it was on the Rams, and I think that's a good reason to go back because I think people will look at the box score and be like, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes only had one touchdown. He's not worth the price." And I just think all the ownership for the Chiefs is going to be way lower. And I actually like pieces from that Cincy game that most people probably don't. I think it's a perfect week to go back to Joe Mixon. It might be a great week to go to T. Higgins because if Chase comes back, actually T. Higgins gets more targets with Chase in the lineup than without Chase in the lineup.
Another team I'm actually thinking to look at next week is the Panthers. I think they're quietly turning into a team that's going to put up points just randomly. A lot of people are playing for their jobs, their careers. That's a team I think we should continue to look at in the upcoming weeks to see if we can grab things from.
I like Sam Darnold.
I do too. Me and you have been Sam Darnold guys for a while.
Yeah. Well, it's cool because we've been Sam Darnold guys for a while. You know that we've been friends for a while, but people in this podcast don't always know our convictions. And so, like, as the season goes on, you guys will learn, next year you guys will have a more idea of how we all think. I've always been a Sam guy. Sam's only 25 years old. I don't think it's he could have a Geno Smith season for somebody next year, where you're like, wow, for so many years he didn't look good, but he finally found his home. This is a great audition for Sam. I'm with that call.
Well, it's not even just Sam Darnold. It's, you have their head coach, Wilkes, interim head coach. He wants to prove that he can be a head coach again after his awful season with Josh Rosen in Arizona. You have Deontay Foreman, who...
He's probably playing for a contract extension. DJ Moore, he's playing for... I'm a Panthers fan. I'm not huge on Darnold. I want us to tank and get one of these good quarterbacks.
No, I think the Panthers should move off every quarterback in that room. But I'm still a Sam Darnold fan. No, I'm not a Baker guy at all.
Nah, me neither. I'm actually more on PJ. I saw him playing the XFL. I actually like his talent. I think he can be good. Well, as good. I think he can be the best of those three.
See, I think Sam's the best of the three. I think PJ can, be a decent backup, come and win you a couple of games if your starter gets hurt. I think Baker's just not a good quarterback.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think Sam is younger than Lamar Jackson.
I think you're right about that.
I mean,
I think they're the same age, but I'm not sure about that.
I mean, that's just, but let's say they're relatively the same age. I think people would assume that Lamar is way younger. And people forget that, Sam came in and he did not come in with the best conditions with the Jets. So I just think and that division's wide open. Maybe the Saints go to Jameis Winston and their season changes, maybe
Tampa turns it around.
Yeah. So that's the fun of it for me though. People will say, well, this week was fun to build. This week was, I like the up and down nature of football. That's appealing to me. Speaking of ups and downs, how about I just run through some of these names and kind of give people a preview of kind of our lineup build.
Lamar is a couple months older. But
is he?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so they're
so-
roughly the same age, not by like a year. It's a few months. Okay.
But I think it's one of those things that people wouldn't think of, and that's what we
Yeah.
try to do with this show is we try to give people the nuggets that people haven't thought of yet. So let's look at this. So do we start targeting games or do we play talent? Like, for example, the Green Bay Packers have given up 52 times they have given up over 300 yards rushing over those games recently. That's just terrible, right? Like, do we just start targeting specific matchup kind of narratives where it's like, okay, the Cardinals against tight ends, they give it up. The Packers give it up to running backs. Or do we how do we build on our pillars to build better lineups?
I think targeting a running back against the Packers makes sense. I personally, at this point in the year, would target the teams that are desperate and, the teams that are in playoff positions where it's the Jets and the Jets and the Dolphins, Jets and Bills,
Washington
things like that.
and
Washington, yeah.
Dallas, yep.
Or I target the people who are fighting for jobs like the Panthers. That would be my mindset of,
Right.
But there are specific matchups I don't think you can go wrong. If there's a starting solidified number one running back and they're playing the Packers, it makes a lot of sense to go for them.
The weird one this week is the other two rush defenses I would say I would attack every week are Houston and Cleveland, and they play each other.
Right.
So that's a weird game, especially if both teams do end up running it on each other all game.
Let's talk about this because I do think maybe at the end of the week we get more clarity.
All right,
maybe
guys, I hate to do this, but I have to head out. I'm going to be going into the storm shelter. So that's where I'm going to call it.
Well, hopefully, Donnie, you're safe, brother. Keep us updated. I'll update the people. I want you to be safe. So go ahead. Go ahead and run, Donnie.
Bye, guys.
Yep. Peace out. Stay safe.
Yeah, and we can close up shop here too, Gov, pretty quickly, but I think we're really close, man. We're really close to breaking through here. So I guess to wrap up, I have a fun little thing we could do at the end here. What do you think you were doing 750 days ago?
750 days ago. So a little over 2 years ago. That would have been middle of the pandemic.
Yep.
I was sitting in my house taking care of my brother.
Yes, sir. See, I want to start doing this where we ask people in the comments a question or a pondering, and I'll tell you why that matters here in a second. So, guys, if you could, leave us a comment down below in the comment section. What were you doing 750 days ago? Now, I asked that question because roughly that's the duration. The last time we saw Deshaun Watson in a game was about 730 days ago, give or take. He's coming back next week. I said that I would play him if he was a good price, and I would donate money to charity if I won. I don't think I'll be playing Watson because there's just so much good quarterback value. But I do like Amari Cooper this week, or a guy at minimum price like David Bell, because these are the small edges where it's if a guy comes back with that kind of talent, whether you think personal things about him or not, it's just it can be very advantageous to attack him, and it's going to change the offense. And I think Amari Cooper, I believe, is 6,200. And you're giving him a huge quarterback upgrade. And that's not to say Brissett hasn't been serviceable. He has. But you're giving him a huge upgrade. And then I just want to close up shop saying we might get Benny Snell at 4,700. Another cheap value. Is there any other, to give the people an outlook, any other news information that we should keep an eye on
The big one I'll be looking at is Josh Jacobs. Like if he's expected to not practice all week with the calf strain, which is what made him questionable on Friday, but then he still ended up playing. He went out he didn't play the end of the fourth quarter because of it, but then he did play in overtime, and we saw him break off the 86-yarder. So I'm optimistic he may play. If not, they most likely will go to Amir Abdullah and Zamir White. And I know Zamir White is only 4,100. Abdullah is not really a pound it between the tackles, take it first, second down guy. So I think White will take those carries.
No, and it's good. And by the way, the 49ers, if Christian McCaffrey was to sit in this game, I like David Price for them better because David Price, he doesn't play special teams. He's not really a special teams build. And so that's why he hasn't been activated ever in games because they like Green, I believe is his name, because he has more special team ability. But I do think David Price, the rookie, would get the majority of the touches if McCaffrey is out. And by the way, so if Harris sits and Warren was to play, I'd play Warren. But if Warren sits as well, I'm playing Benny Snell. So like somebody from that cheap, Pittsburgh game could be interesting, as I mentioned. So keep an eye on these things. Gov, any other last minute things you want to mention to the people?
No. I have some thoughts, but I will save them for our Saturday show.
I'm really excited about Saturday too. I think I would like to build we got to get back to building our pillars. So we'll do that. I kind of forgot about it the last couple of weeks. So me, Gov, and Donnie will get back to having one solid pillar in the lineup, one conviction play, if you will, and then we'll kind of agree on everything else. But I also want to do a concept lineup. So like where we build two different theory lineups, or like we have this one consortium idea, and we'll speak more on that Saturday, as well as I want to break down at some point the XFL from a preview standpoint, because I think we could offer a lot of value in there. But speaking of value, we were going to wrap up with only about a 30-minute show today. So it's a value pack show. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Thanks, Gov, for joining me, and we'll get out of here with this. Stay safe, Donnie.
Peace out, everyone. Hopefully you had a good weekend. See you on Saturday.
Take care.
USA.